it red, others simply say opioids or tramadol. The abuse of this drug has caused many deaths around the world. In 2019, for instance, the World Health Organization reported that about 600,000 people died from drug abuse. Out of that number, about 25% of them were users of opioids. In Ghana, the euphoria about its usage is spreading rapidly among the youth, and it is the cause of concern for many. Hello, good evening, and welcome to Agenda. My name is Beatrice Adu, and tonight we want to find out what went wrong, how terribly bad the situation is, and the way forward. I do have on the panel with me Kamaldeen Awudu, he's Head of Education and Prevention at the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC. Good evening to you, sir. Thank you so much for joining us on Agenda.
Good evening, and good evening to your viewership.
I also do have with us Dr. ThomasAnaba, member of the Health Committee of Parliament, former medical director at the Accra Regional Hospital, the Ridge Hospital. Good evening to you, Doc. Thank you so much for joining us on Agenda as well.
Good evening to you, and good evening to our cherished viewers and listeners.
And of course, we do have a video called Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya. He is psychologist, also Dean of Student Affairs at the University of Ghana. Doc, if you can hear and see us, good evening to you. Thank you so much for joining us on Agenda as well. Okay, so Doc will be joining us very shortly. Remember that we are streaming live on 3FM 92.7. Send in your comment, and we will bring them back to you here. Let's just get it started here, and I want to start with you, Mr. Awudu, because less than a week ago, your office, NACOC, witnessed the destruction of about 230 cartons of opioids by the Ministry of Health together with the Food and Drugs Authority. Per your own data, how widespread is this?
You mean the red?
Yes.
Yes. The issue of red is not a new phenomenon. I have been an operative working at the Kutu International Airport since between 2012 and 2016. And NACOC has always been engaged in collaboration with FDA, seizing lots of tramadol at the entry and exit points. And so between 2012 till now, we've always collaborated with FDA and arrested mostly at the entry and exit points. I was, personally at the cargo section of the Kutu International Airport. And then on several occasions, we have had occasions where we seized lots of tramadol. Like you said, just a few months ago, we witnessed the destruction of several cartons of tramadol 225, and then one of the brands called Tafradol was also seized and then and destroyed. And so I think the issue of tramadol and recently red, as is popularly known, is not a new phenomenon. It has been there.
It's not new. So when you say that you were at the cargo session, when was that?
Between 2012 and 2016.
Okay, because 2012 there was an issue. It wasn't necessarily red, but there was an issue where we even had NIB getting you and some other people.
Yes. Involved. So that's why I'm just buttressing the point that the phenomenon of tramadol, abuse is not a new thing, and it's just in recent times that the issue has surged based on that reportage by the BBC, that it has become a matter for discussion now. But it is not a new phenomenon, and it has been a matter that has been around, since time immemorial.
Let me get clarity from you before I go to Dr. Anaba. Are you saying that perhaps we are getting a lot more attention on it because the media is reporting about it, or there's a resurgence in terms of the usage? A lot more people are using it now based on the data you have. Again, I refer to your data.
Yes. Look, I can also refer you to a report in 2019 by a team called the Consultative Committee to Combat Drug Abuse. And this committee was instituted by the former president, and the Narcotics Control Commission was also part of that. Yes, and NACOC was also part of that committee that undertook that research, that survey. And this survey was it was aimed at, unraveling the reasons why students, particularly in the second and first cycle institutions, engage in substance abuse. And one of the highlights of the report is that about 59.9 of boys in senior and junior high schools use cigarettes. That's almost 60% of boys in senior and
More
junior
than
high schools.
half of our children
More than
in
half of
second
senior
cycle
and junior high
institutions
schools use drugs. And then about 72.7% of girls used pain relievers. And so that tells you how widespread and how serious the matter has been, especially even in our junior and senior high
and that's
schools.
the data from 2019.
Yeah, 2019 data.
I want to come to you, Dr. Anaba. You're a member of the Health Committee of Parliament, and like I just mentioned, a former medical director of the Accra Regional Hospital, I believe one of the biggest we have in Ghana. What have you seen?
We have noticed very scaring reports and then very scaring behavior of our youth of late with regards to tramadol. I am based in Tamale, and I remember last year we had the public themselves arresting people trafficking and selling tramadol, those opioids.
As far back as last year?
As far back as last year, in the open streets of Tamale, open streets of the markets. We've also noticed that many people try to auto-medicate, and by going very freely to some corners in the markets, women dealings, having basins full of drugs, including these opioids.
In the open market, yes, in Tamale?
They are there. Not only in Tamale, it's widespread. I can say it, it's widespread. You can see young men with bags. Let me not, I'm going to use the word zabramas for want of a better description of the people. Not derogatory. With bags roaming around with drugs, and when they caught them, they have a lot of tramadol, higher doses in them. The issue of people using tramadol, like he has mentioned, especially in the girls, is because they have pain due to problems of menstruation. So when they go to pharmacies, sometimes, oh, this would relieve you very fast. Once they take it 1, 2, 3, 4, it is relieving them. They then fall into addiction.
Are you saying that the pharmacists actually prescribe tramadol for girls with menstrual pains?
They are not legally prescribed. There's a problem with people trying to circumvent, not trying to go to doctors because they think they're going to see a doctor and that. Let's go straight to somebody who is selling drugs, somebody who has an over-the-counter drug selling. They sneak some of these things in because those dealing in it know how to target their clients. Because it's a business. It's not only in Ghana. He knows it. It's a business worldwide that they know how to target their clients and they know how to pick them. Once your mother or father doesn't want to take you back to your hospital because they already know that this is the thing they will give to you, they quickly go to these people. They say, oh, we don't have this drug, but we have this other one. They sell it to you. Once the girl takes it and feels better, next time she has the pain and she has money on her, she'll go and pick it.
Have you personally had encounters with people like that, who either boys or girls who have found themselves in situations where they need this?
Seriously, I've encountered somebody, even in my hospital, he slept in my hospital over 3 months with a clinical psychologist. I bet you he himself, after all the sessions of psychotherapy, with the mother every day coming there, vowed never to touch it again. I've encountered that severally in the hospital. So it is something that is very common in our setting. Some of them attach it to peer pressure. They go to school, their friend takes it, oh, you take this, you feel fine. When they take it and feel that they are very comfortable, there's no pain, this euphoria, they develop dependence on it, then that is it, they are hooked to it.
Let me tell you that we have spoken to somebody who uses red. In fact, he told us earlier that he mixes red also with tramadol. Red is another form of tramadol, just extra dose. Yes. He uses the normal tramadol as well as a mixture of weed. We'll be hearing him and we'll be watching him very shortly. But just briefly before we go to watch that gentleman who spoke to us just some minutes ago, how worried are you about this resurgence, as it were?
I'm very worried because the addiction of opioids or tramadol causes a lot of devastating effects in people's behavior. Their social attitude and behavior is very weird. They don't act normally like everybody would act. They don't feel shy. They are aggressive. They look unkempt sometimes. They can, because of the addiction, they can even go pilfering, stealing, trying to get money to go and then buy the drug and then take. So it changes their social lifestyle altogether, and their ability to comport themselves adequately like any normal person is a problem. So for me, it is a worry that we need to make sure we work very deeply with all agencies involved, all doctors, nurses, Food and Drugs Board, law enforcement agencies, to see how we can curb this so that patients don't get, or people don't get access to tramadol or any of the opioids in any form, except that it is prescribed by a doctor to relieve pain. Because the real use of opioids is to relieve moderate to severe form of pain. It is not meant for pleasure. It's not meant for you to take it and amuse your brain and it trigger these rewarding effects of your brain to crave for it. No, it is not meant for that. It is meant to be given to people who are in serious pain. You take it and you get relief. After you are relieved, we step it down to smaller
doses,
potent drugs, and wean you off of it. Then you go home and you are relaxed. And it shouldn't be sold anywhere. It should be sold at pharmacies with a prescription of a doctor.
So you agree that there's a lot of laxity in our system?
A lot. As for that, I would say there's a lot, because even some over-the-counter pharmacies, you go over-the-counter shops, you go sometimes, that is where they even go. You go to some of the places, and the young men know where they are. They know some of the shops, they sell them. And to our surprise, I think the Food and Drugs Board and the law implementing agencies are those to really monitor to see who are those violating
Have
it.
they failed?
To me, in terms of opioids, they have.
They have failed?
They have.
I want us to watch this gentleman who gave us his thought about using tramadol, read extreme doses of it, and then we'll come back to the conversation. Watch this. Kwame, thank you very much for joining us on Agenda tonight.
You're welcome.
First of all, tell us how you got introduced to red tramadol, and you were telling me earlier that you do a mixture of it.
Yes. Well, it started from my youthful age, I think maybe 8 or 10 years ago, when it wasn't very popular in the system. I think a friend took it in front of me first. We used to have these guys, we call them kwaleba. They are the ones who sell it. They have these bags, small bags they walk around with. They are from Niger and stuff like that. So they are the ones who sell them those drugs. It was quite cheap at the time. So from them using it, they are like, oh, it's a nice feeling when you take it, you know, you feel different, and like you feel so calm. So I said, okay, let me try it. Each time we are out, there are people taking it, girls and stuff, and they're like, but you will be normal. Just try it and see what happens.
And that was about 10 years ago?
Yeah, that was about 10 years ago.
Which part of the country was this?
This was in Medina.
In Medina?
Yes, exactly, in Medina. It was popular in the Zongos.
In the
before.
Zongos?
Yes, in the Zongos. That's where you get those people who sell with those small bags. They are usually from Niger, they are not Ghanaians.
So when you tasted it and you liked it, how often did you get to use it eventually?
Well, you know, like everything, when you do it for the first time, you do it for the second time, I think your system adapts to it and you grow in it. I think when you start drinking, you don't just start drinking 10 bottles. So the first time, a bottle will get you drunk, and each time you do it, you outgrow what the level you were at. So it will get to a time one won't work that much on you. You have to take 2, and it keeps going like that.
And earlier when we spoke, you told me that you do a mixture of a number.
Yes.
Red, tramadol,
Yes.
and weed. Can you tell us how?
Well, I was smoking weed before I even got to know of tramadol. Yes, and the red is just, it's a street, maybe slang or word we use. It's all tramadol. We have the 120 milligram, and the red is the 250 milligram, which is quite strong. It's the strongest, I guess. We have them in white too, but that's the most popular one. And now it's even difficult to get. Yeah, because it's the people who used to sell it are now being arrested and stuff because it's gotten popular and the word is out. So it's very expensive now. So I think and from then on, every time you go out, you know, you have to ask for it and get it, because within the day, I think by 12, you start feeling feverish and stuff like that.
How are you getting money to buy them?
And now you're an addict, so you know.
But obviously, you didn't stay in school for the past 10 years.
Yes.
You graduated, I believe
Yes.
you started to work. How
Yes.
were you able to get money to buy the drugs?
Oh, well, you have to feed your addiction. However, whichever way, you know, sometimes you have to even go as far as, you know, stealing things from the house to go sell. I hope you get what I mean. Yes, and that's how it starts destroying you bit by bit. Because now without it, it's like you can't function.
And you were telling me, just going back to the earlier conversation we had about a mixture of these drugs, and I realized that you brought some samples.
Yeah,
you have some weed and
yes.
some tablets. Are you able to explain to us what those the leaves are and the 2 tablets you have, what they are?
Well, this is weed. This is the regular weed maybe we smoke. Yeah, this is, we call this is amnesia.
This is weed?
Yes, it's weed.
Okay.
It's practically weed. So you may use a scissors to cut it, or we have crushers. You roll it with a Rizzler, and you put some.
Oh, so it's already got that inside. So you just put this amount.
Yes, and maybe use a scissors to cut it into.
How much in terms of the grams?
Well, there's a gram, so it goes for about 40 cedis.
About 40 cedis,
yes.
Weed?
Yes.
And it's fresh dried weed?
Yes.
So you roll it into the paper?
And yes, and you put some fire behind it.
Okay.
Yeah.
But what about the tablets?
Well, the tablets is, that's the tramadol. You know,
this is the tramadol?
There are types, yes. They have grades. They have the 120 milligram, and the red is the 250 milligram.
And this is what people normally call red?
Yes, this is the Ogbani. Yes.
But there are some pictures of red where you see the tablets bigger than this, or this is
this is the actual size.
This is the actual size.
Yeah, they have other ones. There's a white one. It's also a 250 milligram.
Okay.
This is the red.
So normally, the times when you were mixing the 3, like you told me earlier, how were you doing it? You would take the weed, smoke it, after which you take the 2 tablets.
Yes.
How did it go?
And now we got to a time, this one goes into the system first. Because, I mean, when you wake up, the first thing you need to go and do is get your tramadol, put it in a drink.
Even before food? Yes,
before food. Okay. It will get to the time when you don't take it, you can't eat. You can't function. Your whole day is just bad. You are getting angry each and every minute. Yes, and that's the effect.
Okay.
Yes, it has on you.
And when you take it, how long does it take before your system starts reacting to that?
Well, in the beginning, maybe it would have taken you a whole day to get out of your system. But now you may even take maybe 5 tablets, and you may top up maybe by evening.
No, so I'm talking about the effects you get, because earlier you were saying that you feel like you're out of the world.
Yes.
How, if you took the tablet now, how many minutes will it take before you get to that level?
Well, depending on your system and how long you have been taking it, I think for a beginner, I think at least within the next 15 minutes, you should have an effect.
And after you've taken it for a long time, like you, where you've been in it for the past 10 years, how long does it take?
Now it will take a longer period. That's why you have to overdose yourself with more tablets. So I mean, at a go, you may just do 5 straight, which you need to top up during the day. Yes, because it now starts to leave your system, because now your system is on it. It's a regular thing. You need it every day.
Tell us, when you say that when you take the drugs, you feel like you're on top of the world. Tell us how it feels like. We've seen videos of people working and even dozing and trying to fall down. For you personally, anytime you did a mixture of these, how did you feel?
Yeah, sometimes, I don't know, it's just like you feel so good. You are calm. And it's the calmness that can get you to a point you don't even know you are standing and you're sleeping. That's just the feeling. If you think about it, it doesn't do anything much to you, but just that calm and drowsy mood and feeling you get when you take it.
And how does it feel like when it is getting out of your system?
When it's getting out of your system, you start to get tired, weak, frustrated, you know.
And you watched a bit of that interview with, we call him Kwame, who is a drug addict, and you heard him there, what he uses and how he goes about it. We'll bring you the full conversation later, really, but that's just, you know, a bit of what he told us in terms of his story. And I want to come to you again, Mr. Adu, based on what you heard, and even the price of just a gram of weed, really.
Yes. So that tells you the situation that those who are addicted to these drugs find themselves in. Perhaps you may not even have been employed, and you are unemployed, and yet you need money to every now and then buy drugs to sustain your addiction. And that tells you that such a person is very vulnerable to engaging in several acts of, criminality in order to get their monies, to buy his medicine. Most often than not, in our various, lorry stations, you see these guys there begging. The person comes with a very nice story, telling you he's coming from far away, asking you for money. Most of these guys need this money to go and sustain their addiction. And if you and I, at the end of the day, you say, oh, tomorrow, yesterday I saw you here, and today I'm seeing you here today, I will not give you the money. He refuses, you sleep, you lock your doors, this person comes to you, possibly enters your home, because he must get money at all costs to go and get the drugs. Because if he doesn't get the drug to take, he cannot function normally, like you and I, because his body has become so tolerant to the drugs to such an extent that he relies basically on the drug to function properly in the day.
We heard Dr. Anaba say earlier that he thinks that the Food and Drugs Authority has failed in all of this. And we started this conversation with me saying that you witnessed the destruction of some 230 cartons of these drugs that were seized. Would you agree with what Dr. Anaba is saying, that indeed the fact that we have this spreading and people can easily access them means that we have some institutions that have not really performed as they should have?
Yes, well, I heard Doc say that, in his opinion, he thinks that law enforcement has failed or the agencies have failed. But I disagree humbly, because, the issue of the fight against drug abuse is a concerted effort. Security may have been at the borders, ensuring that these drugs will not go in. But remember that we have what we call these unapproved routes. And narcotic officers may have their presence in most of these border positions, but we only find ourselves in the approved areas. But these, bad people usually go through the unapproved
Is that
routes.
not just an excuse? Because we've been hearing of unapproved routes
I'm
for a very long time.
I'm building a point. I'm building a point. I'm not saying that it's an excuse for us not to know that people are using unapproved routes. But look at the vast, land area. The security cannot cover that vast area. It is, look, you only are able to identify that this is an unapproved route when an arrest has been made. Where is the next unapproved route? Security is unable to know that. And that's why I'm saying that in as much as we have a duty to perform at the border post to ensure that these things do not come in, the wider society or the communities also have that responsibility to ensure that information is given to the security agencies. Security usually, basically, essentially rely on information from the general public.
And I'm coming to you, Dr. Anaba, before we go to Dr. Wiafe-Akentin. Hopefully his connection is better. But before I do that, I want to read a comment from Jonathan Zobi, who says, how are you having such a major conversation without the FDA or pharmacists as part of your panel? I'm sorry, FDA has been unavailable. And so is the reason you don't have FDA on the panel tonight. But Doc, obviously, Mr. Adu disagrees with you, that you should admit that the security agencies cannot cover all the routes that are seen as unapproved.
Thank you. I think he can say he disagrees, and I respect his opinion. But as a citizen, we have agencies who are supposed to ensure that our borders are tight. We're able to close our borders to prevent COVID-19 from coming into Ghana. We have soldiers to litter them throughout the borders to protect Ghana. If you continue saying this in public, in television, that our borders are porous because security agencies are not up to standard to take care of it, our enemies can come in here any day. If Ghana government wants to block our borders to prevent opioids from illegally entering into the country, it must be able to do it, because China is doing it. Russia, you can't take a drop of
These are
opioids.
developed countries. You are a developing country.
You see, that's the problem. These are devolved countries. When are we going to devolve if we don't implement what makes us to be devolved? We have to implement what makes Ghana to be a devolved country. Our soldiers are sitting in the barracks and the rest. Send them there, like they went and blocked COVID-19 from every corner. No one could enter Ghana. Send them there to go and work. Their work is to protect the country. If opioid is being brought in illegally and is destroying our youth, those who are supposed to take care of this country in future, it is the duty of the country, the government, to push the military, the police, whoever, to block the borders. All the unapproved roads must be identified. The military have the duty to identify all unapproved roads. Immigration has the duty to identify all unapproved roads. In the moment a new one is created, they have to go and block it. That is their work. That is what we pay them for. So if you say that no, they have not failed, to me, they have not performed the way we want them to perform. That's why we have illegal drugs coming into the country. Per the law, that is their duty. Food and Drugs Board is supposed to ensure that no one sells any drug in the country that is not lawful. That is harmful to the people. If it is being sold, who is responsible? Is it the chief in my village? No. It is Food and Drugs Board who is to ensure that he brings new bills to Parliament to pass laws that would help them protect the public from taking drugs that would harm their lives. That is the duty of the Food and Drugs Board. So to me, if I say the system has failed, yes, the system has failed. And we need to up it up to ensure that we minimize it or abolish it completely, prevent it from happening.
Let me find out, and I'll come to you again, Ms. Adu, because I realize you want to respond. But I want to, hopefully, Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya is on the line with us. Doc, are you on with us? Okay, connection to Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya is not really helpful.
I'm with you.
Okay, we can hear you. If you can turn on your video, Doc. Okay, we can hear you now. Let me just go ahead and ask you my question. I'm sure you've heard what has transpired so far with Dr. Anaba, his thoughts, and what Mr. Adu from NACOC is also telling us. From where you sit as a psychologist and indeed Dean of Student Affairs, why do you think we got where we are beyond the arguments the two gentlemen in studio are making?
All right. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Good evening to listeners. I associate myself with what they said. I will go further to say that all of us are part of the problem, even though there are specific institutions that have been created. And therefore, if we are pushing blame, the greater part will go to them. Yep. You talk about who is supposed to monitor borders so that such things do not get here. And when they get here, who is within to ensure. So those are the individuals and the institutions that we have to put the satellite on. Because as a nation, if we don't take the drastic steps, as they have said, within the next 5 years, or we will not even get there, we're going to be in a very serious problem. Although drugs have been age-old problem and phenomenon, as we get more advanced, more educated, more sophisticated, we should also be able to find ways to reduce them to the barest minimum. So that's my initial statement.
When you say we are going to get into trouble, how are you anticipating things could turn out for the country?
Okay, as my other colleague on the panel has said, unfortunately, the situation is aggravating. The number of young people who are joining the train, and the train here, drug use, drug abuse, and all that, and not just any other drug, but the psychoactive drugs, the one that tend to work on your mind and blur your vision and do all kind of things. It's really increasing. The problem is that young people have strong need for attachments. They have strong need to belong, and they have strong need to be invoked. And again, you also agree that young people may be very enlightened, but their judgment to a greater extent, for majority of them, is very poor. So they see other people do it, they think it's okay. And now with social media and the fact that everything seems to be acceptable, just say anything, not only even in drugs, but other issues or other things that ordinarily should not be allowed to be on the screen, either radio or television or even on social media. But it looks like nowadays everything is allowed. All the inhibitions we have, that prevent young people and even older people from doing certain things in public have been removed gradually, and therefore nobody seemed to care. Now the unfortunate things that are not acceptable have become the norm, and those who do not take part are seen as deviant and weird. Therefore, unless you have a very strong family background that you have inculcated certain values that even in the absence of your parents or the rules, you don't engage.
Dr. Wiafe-Akenten, we'll come to you again very shortly. Of course, we're looking at solutions, and when we come back, that's what we'll look at. But I just want to read this comment from Togbi Anyigba, who says, I think this war should be a collective fight. My best friend died just 2 weeks because of taking excessive opioid. He will be buried coming Sunday on 12th April. Actually, we were together into cannabis, but I stopped and he continued and migrated into opioid. So he went on. Oh, okay. Doc is on. Doc, we'll be coming back to you very shortly after this break, because when we come back, we're going to look at solutions beyond the blame game. What do we do to ensure that we nip this in the bud before it gets out of hand? And you're still here on Agenda on TV3 with me, Beatrice Adu. We're talking at the abuse of opioids among Ghanaian youth, and really, right now we're going to look at what to do moving forward to ensure that we deal with the problem. Let me remind you, if you're just joining us, that we do have on the panel with us Kamaldeen Awudu. He is Head of Education and Prevention at the Narcotics Control Commission. We also do have on my left side Dr. ThomasAnaba. He's member of the Health Committee of Parliament, former medical director at the Accra Regional Hospital. We do have a video call as well, Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya. And I'm coming to you, Doc. You were making a point earlier, but really, I want to ask you another question about this is an obvious dangerous drug. As a psychologist, head of Dean of Student Affairs, really, why would people use it?
Just a quick one. I'm the Vice Dean, Student
Vice
Affairs.
Dean, yes.
Why
yes.
would students use it? Yeah, normally, as I said earlier about young people, there's a tendency for them to belong. And therefore, if we're in a group that are engaging in certain kind of behavior, you also feel like trying. They will even push you in a subtle or direct way. So that is one. Sometimes people also want to experiment as to why is it that others are doing this. And the several other reasons will also be, some people think that they need more energy, either to work, especially those who do those manual work that require a lot of energy, and several other reasons. And also the apparent satisfaction they claim they get from it. Either they are sedated or it gives them, make them euphoric. So these are some of the reasons why people engage in it. And for such drugs, the moment you take it, there's a high tendency or potential that you become addicted. In other words, it becomes part of you when you crave for it, in the same way that you crave for food and water. So it gets to a point where you need more doses to get the same satisfaction. That is, your body tends to tolerate it. And then you get to a point what we call the, if you even begin, you decide to stop, there's this withdrawal symptoms that make you feel very uncomfortable, at ease. And as my colleague said earlier, such people will do anything to get the drugs, either to sell what they have, to rob people, anything that they consider will be able to help them reduce the withdrawal symptoms they have. Thank you.
Okay, I'm coming to you, Ms. Adu, because you had an earlier reaction to some of the points that were made.
Yes, not to actually, react to what Doc said earlier, but the point I was trying to make is that this issue, I only use that porous borders, as one example. There could be several other reasons why drug could slip through, but I don't want to get into those other reasons. But what I'm trying to say is that it takes a concerted effort to nip this canker in the bud. And it takes both law enforcement, state agencies, and then the communities and even parents to ensure that we curb this canker. Because these videos we are seeing on social media, these guys belong to families. They belong to religious groups. They are either Christian or Muslim. What are those people doing about them? Do they have proper parenting or not? So these are some of the issues we should be looking at, so that there should be a concerted effort. Everybody's seeing the issue as a matter that is at the heart of the future of this nation, so that we come together to resolve it. If we begin to apportion blame, we may end up failing in a fight.
We may even end up politicizing it.
Exactly. So that is why I was thinking that it was too strong a word for Doc to say that we have completely failed. At least.
Well, I think that's his opinion, and he's seen a number of.
Yes. Well,
based on what he's seen.
I do agree. But you also bear testimony to the fact that some drugs have been seized and are being destroyed. This is even evidence of a court order that is giving us the order to go and then destroy these drugs. The court order was in January. The date is here.
16th of January 2025.
Exactly. And look at the drugs that were destroyed. Royal 225. Then we have Tafradol 120. So there are evidences that.
So have they destroyed those drugs already?
Yes, already has been destroyed in collaboration with the other stakeholders. So
that's different from the 230 that we saw
different from the 230.
destroyed just last week.
Different from that one. In all these instances, there has been a collaboration between the Narcotics Control Commission, even though when it comes to these drugs, strictly speaking, it doesn't fall under our mandate. But as a responsible security agency, who are at the border posts. We collaborate with them so that when these drugs come, we ensure that we arrest them and then we collaborate with them to see how we can destroy
You
these
say it
drugs.
it doesn't fall within your mandate, so where does your mandate stop?
Our mandate is strictly with narcotics, illegal narcotics. But tramadol, as we know, is not an illegal drug. It is when it goes beyond the acceptable doses. That's what makes it illegal, like Doc even indicated in his submission. And so, strictly speaking, we should not even be the one to be regulating, legal drugs. But there's a collaboration because we are at the borders and we support.
So who should be regulating? Which institution? You already disagree that FDA has failed. So what do you expect of the FDA now?
So I don't talk for the FDA.
Yes.
So I can't hold brief for the FDA. But I was talking in general terms that security or law enforcement itself has not failed in this fight. We have done our best. But that's why I always bring this concerted effort issue to broaden the horizon of the issue so that we know that one segment of the society cannot succeed in this fight. I've always, emphasized on the role of the parent. Very, very important. The family is the basic unit of the society. That's why we have this proverb that says that charity begins at home.
So parents should play their roles better.
Parents should play their role better because, like I said, these videos we are seeing, all of these people come from homes. So what kind of upbringing did they get? Do they have the bonding, family bonding, and yet they went out to become like this? I doubt so. So family bonding, parents who have their kids, let's look at even the proactive, aspect. Not, these ones have gone beyond even you preventing them. They've gone beyond prevention. You understand? I'm even worried about those who are yet to get to this level. So what do we put in place to ensure that those ones will also get to this level? That's why I always go back to the role of the parent. The role of the community is also very important. You understand? We live in the city where, is essentially individualistic. We don't have that communal sense of community these days, and especially in Accra. Everybody is busy.
That will take a lot to change.
Exactly. So I think we should all play our individual roles to ensure that this matter is nipped in the bud, rather than, apportioning blames, which I think may lead us not to succeed in what we all intend to do.
Some people seem to agree with you. I'm coming to you, Dr. Anaba, but let me read a few more comments. And this is from Zampa Ibrahim. He says, as a nation, we have a lot of work to do to ensure that this abusive attitude of drug addiction is brought into control. I believe that roles the pharmaceutical fraternity plays is very crucial in helping to combat this situation, because a country that allows non-health professionals operating OTC over the counter, OTC without pharmaceutical knowledge about drugs is another cause of the situation. And I think he's perhaps corroborating the point you made earlier. There's also Chika Nate, who says everybody should get involved, because it's not just about law enforcement agencies who can stop this fight. You can't just say they have failed, because they are really working hard through sensitization and enforcement seriously. So Nate also seems to disagree with you. But Doc, you're a member of the Health Committee. I believe this is something that your committee should be interested in picking it up. Do you have any information that your committee perhaps will be looking into it?
I don't have any information on that, but we have heard the public outcry about the easy accessibility of opioids everywhere in the country. What I think that when we meet, possibly the committee might have to look at this, because it's part of our responsibility to protect the public, to play an oversight responsibility, to ensure that if there are lapses, then we can call on to the agency that is involved, that is supposed to regulate this, the Food and Drugs Board. If they need to come out with a new policy that will require resources, human resource, whatever, we provide it to them. Besides that, let me say, I'm not here to criticize FDA for anything. I'm talking about the control of opioids in the market, loosely in the market.
Because FDA has post-market surveillance.
Other issues regarding their duties, their responsibilities, they've done perfectly well.
Yeah.
But I'm talking in the terms of control of opioids. Look, you go to over-the-counter, those OTCs, you can even buy antibiotics.
Yeah.
And they are not supposed to sell antibiotics. They're supposed to sell food supplements.
Yeah.
You go to some of them, you can buy an opioid.
But shouldn't the pharmacy
That is
council
where the
come in
regulation
here?
is failing. That is where it's failing. If they are failing and they think that they have less resources to be able to implement, to enforce their mandate, they should write to Parliament that we need this and this and this. Let's change the policy this way.
Yeah.
Then we support them and we push them. So as it stands, I never want to say that Food and Drugs Board is not doing its job. But when it comes to control of sale of opioids in the market, how do we have a tramadol 250 milligrams in this country? How did it come in? How did it come in? In the first place, you are not supposed to even allow it to come into the country. Through which border did it come in? That is where the porous borders come. That's why we have to say that it's a system failure. It's not only Food and Drugs Board, even the narcotic control team. Because if it is above 100 milligrams, it means it's above the threshold that is supposed to come into a country.
So they should take responsibility.
They should take responsibility because 250 should not come into a country. No, because we don't allow 250 in this country. We allow 50 and 100. So if you see 250 coming in, we are supposed to impound it like you've done.
Yes.
And we congratulate you for that.
Yes,
you've impounded it. So having 250 coming into a country like red is unlawful. That is their duty.
So NACOC allowed a bit of it to slip through.
But they have arrested them. So let's appreciate them. Let's commend them for arresting some of them. But some of them have slipped in. But the porous borders, those responsible for porous borders, to take care of it and also work on it. We can't sit down and just throw our hands and say we are porous borders, so we can't do anything. But whilst our youth are dying.
But Doc, if you talk about regulators, for instance, and over-the-counter sale, yes, shouldn't the Pharmacy Council also be responsible? Because,
exactly. So yes, over-the-counter sale and even normal pharmacies should not even sell opioids without a prescription. I tell you, people buy tramadols without prescription. Yeah. They don't take prescription. And the pharmacy should not sell it. But there must be a regulation and a guide to control the sale. Abroad, before you buy an opioid, the doctor's stamp must be there with his registration number. So they can track who imported the drugs, which pharmacies you have sold to. And when they come to your pharmacy, they'll know that this company sold this number of drugs, opioid drugs for you. Let's see those you have disbursed them to. Show us prescription forms from doctors telling you that you should sell it to them. If you can't prove and the number is less, it means you sold it illegally.
So, Doc,
so all this falls under Food and Drugs Board, Medical and Dental Council, to all look into it to ensure that no doctor prescribe a drug, an opioid for anybody without a stamp on it. And no pharmacy dispenses an opioid to anybody without a prescription, because they are called controlled drugs. They are regulated. Yeah.
How difficult is this to get it done?
No, the regulation is very clear. Even in hospitals, when you go, they have a box in the pharmacy and a key. But outside the hospitals, that is where the problem is. It means that we may have to restrict the sale of opioids only inside hospitals. When you have excruciating pain, the doctor prescribes for you, then you take it.
It's already in the market. That's the problem. I can also say that actually I met some police officers arresting 2 people. Yes. They were on a motorbike in what you call the Ghana must go kind of plastic, and they opened it and it was full of opioids. They had to take them to the Accra Regional Police Office. So yeah, that is happening. So that tells you that it's already in the market. You've already attested to it. How do we get it cleared out of the market?
We have to call on everybody to be on a watch. Those who want to help our youth not to be drug addicts and then the rest, let's all be on a look. And if you see anybody suspicious, selling drugs suspiciously, we report such a person. Those selling in the markets, the women sitting in the market selling with them, should observe and see that if the young boys are coming there and buying plenty and going, they should report such a person for them to come and pick the person and then scrutinize and see if he's having opioids selling them, then they can deal with the person. Our pharmacists should also desist from selling opioids, especially the OTCs. Selling opioids in their shops to people without prescription. They are not even allowed to sell it. And Food and Drug Board must also have a lot of surveillance. In some of these, you do some soups.
They have post-market surveillance.
National security can send people deliberately to go and look for it. If they go and they can really buy, they can deal with the person. That is where the security agencies come into play.
So I want to take you back a little bit. Are you going to raise this issue as a member of the Committee on Health?
I can put a statement into it in Parliament.
Is that something you want to do?
Something I can, yes.
Bearing in mind that you've already said that you're concerned about this.
Definitely, I'll do it. Once it is a problem in the country and I'm a health expert and I know the dangers it imposes on the youth, I will put up a statement when we reopen to make sure that Parliament picks it, put it before the committee, the health committee, then we see how we can get the Food and Drugs Board and all the agencies involved in regulating this to come on board, and we work to resolve it.
Yes.
Let me come to you, Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya. Before I do that, I want to read a comment, and I'm just coming to you for solution. From Michael Sina, says, weed is now selling like petrol. Young boys and girls are now smoking anyhow. Every Saturday when it is time for people send their dead relatives to the cemetery, That's where you will see the size of weed people are smoking. Let me, Doc, we're looking at solutions here. We just had Dr. Anaba just telling us that he's going to raise the issue as a member of the Health Committee of Parliament. Where do we move from here?
So it's a long list of, yes, definitely Parliament has a role to play because they need to look at the laws, say that are there new drugs that are not in the law, and therefore people are using it, and even if you arrest them, you cannot prosecute. As you know, you cannot prosecute individuals for offense that is not clearly stated. So that is part of it. But the other thing is that we may assume that people know that what they are doing is wrong, but not always. So I will go back to the usual issue about education, sensitization. And that is where the media comes in. The media have played significant role in the past. For I can recall something like when the late, let's go when President Kufuor knocked out the 4 zeros from the CDs. It was something that almost everybody heard. Why? Because on radio, television, different languages at different time. During COVID, there were a lot that we heard. For seminar, kind of trying to keep clean. So we need to educate, sensitize. Then the next step should be the enforcement. We need to up our game. We need to enhance it. I think that is not up to a level that we expect, especially looking at the rate at which is being individuals are engaging in it. So the enforcement, then we get from the enforcement those who are caught, either they are the big guns or the smaller ones that are pushing, they must be prosecuted. And one challenge we have in this country is what in Tree we call Jantua, the intervention type. Somebody engaged in offense, a chief, an MP, a big man, big woman, they intervene. And in the end, of course, sometimes you say, oh, first time offense. Some of them may not do it again. But there is this thing about, as long as I know I have somebody at my back who will come and tell the police officer or the whoever has arrested me to leave, it becomes problematic. It's kill morale of those who are on the field to enforce the rule. We'll go back to the family because it is important that when you build the bond, when you build the attachment, and you continue to have engagement, quality time with your kids, the probability that they will become wayward becomes very low. But where we are almost always chasing money and just provide what we think is okay in terms of material, or even do not have attention for our children, it becomes a big. Then the last one I will talk about is what Doc has already, and I think the other panels have already raised. Prescription is prescription. Over the counter is different. But here, where anybody can just walk anywhere and buy even from a pharmaceutical. Elsewhere, even common cigarette, let me use the word common, cigarette, or ordinary beer, unless a certain time and we have a photo ID to show that you are of age, you cannot. When we move away from this, the other angle is the black market one. That is extremely serious.
If you could be wrapping up for us, Doc, so we can wrap up.
Okay, the black market one, because that one is where now people they use in different way and they can put it anywhere and sell it anytime, as someone said during funeral and all that. So we have a long way to go, and I'm sure we've started this type of discussion and also enforcement, true and true, we can make headway. Thank you.
True and true, we can make headway. Thank you very much, Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya. But let me just get the final word from you as well. There's somebody who disagrees with you that parenting is not. I'll just read it very briefly. Zampa Ibrahim saying that, Ms. Beatrice, I disagree with Mr. Adu saying parenting is a solution to controlling this situation. The young men who are taking this medication are not only people from vulnerable homes, there are well-renowned people who are addicted to drugs and asking for solutions. So he goes on to talk about what needs to be done. Just in like 30 seconds, your final words, and then wrap up.
Yes, what I have to say is that I want to agree with what my other panelists said about education has to go hand in hand with enforcement. The two are not mutually exclusive. They go hand in hand. And so if you are only doing enforcement, trying to close the channels of supply, and you don't educate the general public, letting them know the effects of the drugs they are using. Like you said, most of these people use these drugs based on reasons. They have what we call the sought after effect, what they intend to achieve by using their drugs. I want you to work, I want you to have power to engage in sexual activity and so on. But once you are doing so, other effects are also, coming into play. For instance, you can have, overdose, and then you can enter into coma and then die. You understand? And so I believe that, education is the way to go. And at the Narcotics Control Commission, we have a whole department where
you're actually the head of education and prevention.
Yes, and then we go to these schools and
if
ensure.
You could wrap up for us.
Yes, we ensure that the education goes down because the kids are the most vulnerable, and they are the future of this country. And so educating them to know what the effects of these substances are is very much important. And so we have even done what we call the drug-free clubs in school. If you can make this your headline, I'll be very happy. We are establishing drug-free clubs in schools where we train students as peer educators to educate their peers.
And I believe in all the cycles of schools.
Yes.
All right, thank you very much. Rahim Wumpini Jr. Please, can't our northern MPs, both MPP and NDC, come together to find a sustainable campaign to combat this? Tamale is the focal point in most exposés. Thank you very much, all of you, for your comments. That's it for Agenda tonight. My guest, of course, we've had Kamaldeen Awudu, Head of Education and Prevention at the Narcotics Control Commission, NACOC, Dr. ThomasAnaba, who's on my left here, member of the Health Committee of Parliament. He's also the MP for Garu, former medical director at the Accra Regional Hospital, the Ridge Hospital. Of course, we've had as well with us Dr. Wiafe-AkentenBrenya, psychologist, Vice Dean of Student Affairs at the University of Ghana. My name is Beatrice Adu. Thank you so much for joining us on Agenda tonight. Join us